The NFL coaching carousel continues to spin. We've got new hires and new wrinkles in offensive and defensive coordinators throughout the NFL, and MVP finalist who was snubbed on today's NFL Six-Pack.
This is Locked On's NFL Six-Pack. 6 bold takes from 2 guys who just flat out know football. NFL experts Matt Williamson and Brian Peacock bring pure NFL talk. Great takes, no fluff. Just honest football talk. Crack one open. It's NFL Six-Pack on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the NFL Six-Pack. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. The 6 best mailbag questions from this week on today's episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. And let's get into this thing and crack it open, because we got a lot of questions and a lot of news to get to. MVP finalists have been released, but first, let's talk a little bit more about some of the coaching hires that are happening and some of the other rumored hires that are happening around the NFL as these staffs continue to develop. There's something interesting brewing, actually, Matt, in the NFC South.
Okay.
This is a division where everyone's 8-9. Feels like I think literally 3 of the teams were 8-9 this year. And the Atlanta Falcons hired Kevin Stefanski as their new head coach. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers turn around and hire former Falcons offensive coordinator Zach Robinson as their new offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a super inspiring hire to me, because we've talked about the Peter principle as it pertains to NFL jobs in the past, Matt.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, okay, you've got you came from the Rams, McVay, former NFL quarterback, college quarterback, Zach Robinson, probably well thought of. He might have bumped his head as the quarterback coach, right? I feel like that's maybe where he should be, because I thought he played a big role in Raheem Morris getting fired as the head coach. And, you might see something like that continue with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Bucs need something else to get Baker Mayfield right. And then on top of it, Baker Mayfield, Matt, was throwing some haymakers on social media toward Kevin Stefanski because of their time in Cleveland Browns, right? And I don't know if I have here we go. Baker Mayfield just popped up. He was responding to a report that said, Falcons Kevin Stefanski had a dumpster fire at quarterback in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed, which started a chain reaction to 11 other starters. Quarterback Shedeur Sanders closed out last season with 7 starts. Baker Mayfield quote tweeted that and said, "Failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach." So very interesting happenings and some familiar foes here in the NFC South brewing.
Interesting. Mayfield always has the chip on his shoulder. I mean, he's still the walk-on, you know what I mean? And I think that plays well for him in that regard. He's got his own issues. He played really poorly in the second half of the season. And I'm not even sure the Bucs don't use like a 3rd-round pick to try to find a Tyler Shuck type guy, so he should probably worry about his own dirty laundry at the moment. Yeah. But that is interesting.
That chip on your shoulder, though.
What's that? Yeah, it's worked for me.
On your shoulder, even if you have to manufacture it.
Yeah. I always find that interesting and wish I knew more of that dynamic, and I never will, of like when you move on from a player, what coaches reach out to, to the GMs, the people that you're around a lot during the time. A lot of it's a money ball situation where you just go in and you say you're traded and boom, it's business, move on. But someone like Stefanski, it's an offensive coach, you would think would spend a lot of time with Mayfield and, hey, I hope you do well, blah, blah, blah.
I feel like it's a professional environment, and you would have to have at least that conversation, say, hey, wish you the best. Sorry, it didn't work out. Short and sweet, at least. You got to say something to a guy that you ship out. You're starting quarterback.
Especially in this walk of life, if you both last in the league 10 plus years, coach longer, you're going to cross paths either on the field or on the same team. Ben Johnson wasn't big on Swift with the Lions, and then he takes the Bears job, and there's Swift. You know what I mean? And that happens all the time. Real quick on Zach Robinson, the real all 22 film breaker downers that I trust the most consensus say Atlanta was the most predictable and boring run game in the entire league, and the passing game wasn't much better.
And he's a quarterback guy, so maybe run game wasn't his, and so maybe he realized that and is going to get some help on his staff to help him coordinate the run game a little bit better. But I was not inspired by what I saw there, and so we'll see how that turns out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Just since we're on
real quick, just having a ridiculously talented running back like Bijan masks that stuff,
right?
you know,
here's the scheme: go win us a game, right?
Yeah, and he does.
Yeah, and he absolutely does. So on that subject of 2020 to 2025 under Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns, and look, the quarterback stuff started well before Stefanski as well in the Browns organization. 13 starting quarterbacks from 2020 to 25, which
it's insane.
You already know it, but it still seems insane for the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah.
But how about this, which is even worse for where the Browns are right now and an open job that they're trying to, by the way, I believe Minter, who we felt like was going to get the job potentially in Baltimore.
There were some reports yesterday.
Yeah, he left Baltimore yesterday. He's today, as we sit here on, I don't even know what date it is, Thursday, January 22nd. He's in Cleveland interviewing for that job. But here's the Browns have both, and shout out to Ian Hartitz, who does a lot of fantasy stuff, for bringing this up, because we know the Browns quarterback situation is not great, and they've got the albatross contract of Deshaun Watson. But the Browns have both the NFL's most expensive quarterback room entering 2026,
which is nuts, and
they have not just the worst quarterback room, they have the league's the 3 bottom quarterbacks in the NFL in EPA per dropback over the last 3 seasons in Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, and Shedeur Sanders. So you have the 3 worst quarterbacks for EPA per play and the most expensive quarterback room at the same time. That is hard to do.
Wow. I mean, obviously we know what a massive mistake Watson was.
Yes.
But to get the worst quarterback play in the league on top of that, in addition to, is unbelievable. I mean, it really is. Like that is malpractice at its highest level. And maybe I'm crazy, but I don't really even blame Stefanski that much, although he must have something to do with it.
Well, he was coach of the year twice.
I know. That's what I was going to say.
Browns team led by who? Joe Flacco into the playoffs, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I heard someone take this stance who was kind of pro Falcons and pro Stefanski, that the voters realized he overcame such a terrible situation is why he got coach of the year twice. You just put him in an average situation and he may be a real plus coach for you. And I think that's a good way of looking at it.
Well, let's drive this home a little bit further. I didn't think we were going to go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Before we hit our mailbag questions here, but how about this? Just to drive home that it's not a coach problem as much as it is a GM front office ownership problem in Cleveland. Here's Mike Pettine's 2014 Browns coaching staff. Kyle Shanahan, Aaron Glenn, Jeff Hafley, Anthony Weaver, Mike McDaniel, Mike LaFleur, 2 current head coaches, 1 former head coach, 3 defensive coordinators, 1 special teams coordinator, and 4 current head coach candidates that are currently getting interviews. You had those coaches in the building and could not win and could not put together a roster. That's the ineptitude of the ownership and front office in Cleveland in a nutshell.
That's insane. I mean, everyone knows I was there 20 years ago or whatever, but there was a lot of common sentiment, and I even brought this up to Steeler people who were rivals at the time, that Belichick was really turning around the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
And despite the situation he was in, and they didn't even get the Belichick out of Belichick. You know what I mean? Let alone these guys.
That staff was crazy. It had like young Jim Schwartz and Saban, and I mean, come on. Yeah.
I mean, think about the assistant coaches or the high end coaches that have been Browns or budding scouts for that matter.
The best defensive player in the NFL of a generation currently on the roster.
I think Atlanta should be kind of excited about the hire.
By the way, Browns go back 25 years. Young Matt Williamson in-house in the front office. If they had just let Matt Williamson run the Browns,
Jeez.
Literally. And like, this is because, we do a lot of draft stuff, and we do a lot of draft stuff. You get fans that get mad if you poke holes in a team's draft class or something like that. And inevitably you get the response of, oh, I think the teams know better than you do.
Right.
You know what? They don't always. All right. Let's get to our 6 top questions around the NFL. I got one more coaching note as well, or a couple of them as far as offensive and defensive coordinators go. Is Brandon Ayuk the next Antonio Brown? Wow. What the heck is wrong with CJ Stroud? And we've got some new information about the path forward for the new Miami Dolphins regime as well. Next. Today's episode of the NFL Six Pack is brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Well, now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Well, now you can actually take part live in a market powered by people during games. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. I've got Game Time at the ready whenever I'm looking for tickets for sporting events, for concerts, for comedy shows, and I've found some phenomenal deals on tickets, and specifically some last-minute tickets on shows I wasn't sure if I was going to go see. Wasn't sure if I was going to go see the ball game. Oh man, look at this! I got half off ticket. The face value. I'm going to the ball game tonight. So with whatever season is in full swing right now, NFL season's on its way out. You might be able to find some Super Sunday tickets or Championship Sunday tickets, but I mean, when you find when you want to go to a game, right? It hits different being there live in the stadium. But the frustrating part has always been getting tickets, waiting in queues, and dealing with logins and watching prices change at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in just a few snaps. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets, baseball tickets, basketball tickets, concerts with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live. All right, thanks for tuning in again and making us your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you haven't checked it out, go check out the Everydayer Club. You can get ad-free streams of this podcast and invite to the Discord server and talk all kinds of ball with all kinds of other fans. And just go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Okay, let's go to Miami. And Randy wants to know if the Dolphins are on the right track with how they're going to rebuild this thing, which sounds like it might be a longer-term rebuild than a quick fix in Miami, which I got to be honest, I feel like is, just short answer. That does feel like it's the right way to go. But new GM, John Eric Sullivan, had this to say: we will draft and develop. We will be a draft and develop philosophy. We will draft and develop and retain our own. There are things that come with that culture. When you raise your own, people are invested. They're bought in. There's a financial element. It keeps you in a healthy cap situation. We will be very intentional and deliberate in free agency. We will utilize it when we get to a healthy cap situation. So he knows what situation they're in currently. They're going to have to pull the Band-Aid off this thing. We will chase difference makers that add value to the field immediately, but also to the locker room in terms of the culture we want to build.
I rarely am a strip it for parts, bottom out philosophy type of guy. I just think that this league is too short. You ruin some relationships in the locker room. It's hard to look your key players in the face and be like, we're gonna play Quinn Ewers this year. How do you think that's gonna go? You know, like,
Yeah.
And they look back at you like, I only got 5 years in this league to do my best, and we're just gonna throw one away. You know, you're here for 20, I'm here for 5. You know,
Yeah.
you know, like
I also think it's hilarious, Matt, that the Tank for Tua team is going to be the March for Arch team now too.
yeah. But I am in this case. I
Yeah.
would strip this thing from parts
You
completely.
kind of have to.
Yeah, the quarterback situation is such an albatross. I could understand rolling with Ewers in a 4th-round pick or something like that. Something totally cheap there.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a couple key young guys on first, on first contracts. But like, I'm trading Minka. Of course, Tyreek doesn't come back.
Right.
I'm listening for offers on even like Waddle.
Waddle's an interesting one because
Yeah.
a lot because he could be part of either getting you more picks or a part of the next thing still.
You hope if the next thing's in the next 2 years, it
Well,
might
and
be 3 or 4.
You do need help for your young quarterback because you want to keep some of that nest if you do draft a quarterback at the top of the next year's draft. So.
There is a catch-22 when you dig yourself such a hole.
Yes.
You know.
And by the way, I think there's clues to what they're going to do with the Tua situation. And Sullivan on the quarterback position says it's a huge question looming over this organization. Everybody knows that. I have a lot of respect for Tua. He's a good player who has accomplished a lot in this league. He's gone. QB is the most important position in any sport. To sit up here today and tell you we have an understanding of which direction we're going to go would be a lie. There's just too much work to do. And that's coming in the next draft anyway. So there you go.
Yeah. Do you think he's one of the 32 starting quarterbacks on opening day? Like maybe battles like JJ McCarthy or something like that.
Draft class is so bad that you can only project one there.
I would guess like Willis is a new one.
Yeah, like Willis, and then so now it becomes okay. Does a team want to trade for Mac Jones, or
I bet the answer is yes,
or would they rather just have Tua and sign him, or if he gets released?
I know we're gonna have a question about Kyler, but he already was one. So
let's get to that question right now.
Okay.
So basically, the question is Kyler Murray going to be one of 32 starters next year? And if so, where would that be?
I definitely think he will be one of 32 starters. I don't love him, but I have a hard time believing I think there's 31 better.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
where that will be, I'm not sure. It feels like, maybe the New York Jets. Like, what's that?
Immediately think Jets.
What's the team where a coach is trying to save their job and at least get a veteran quarterback that could play for you now situation? That feels like New York.
Yeah. And I think you got to mention the Steelers.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Steelers are a dumb organization. I kind of think the Jets are. And I think it'd be kind of a dumb move to invest heavily in him if you think that's the answer. But if you get him for like a 4th or a 5th round pick and have a 1-year training period or 1-year, trial period, you might catch lightning in a bottle. I mean, I could make an argument for that for New York or Pittsburgh or probably some others.
Well, what's interesting is Miami would be the most logical fit because of the Green Bay ties for Malik Willis. But if their cap situation is such a way,
right,
maybe they can't go the veteran quarterback market because it'll be too expensive.
Yeah. Do you think Kyler could end up there?
No, I don't think
that doesn't make any sense to me.
No. Yeah, I think it's Willis or Ewers.
Any chance he stays in Arizona? What are they going to do?
Yeah,
I don't think it feels like that bridge burned.
I feel like the people in the building are like, yeah, we're done with that.
Yeah, I think ownership probably done with that. Yeah, we gave you this huge contract. We had to put the stupid clause in it. Blah blah blah. We benched you on purpose. Minnesota and fight. Something like that.
Yeah, so they need some sort of a competition for JJ McCarthy there. In fact, let's go to that question because this is an interesting one about JJ McCarthy. This is one of those questions. This one from JDS on Twitter. This is one of those where if you saw this question a year ago, 6 months ago, you'd be like, what an asinine question. But it's actually a worthwhile question at this point. He says, 9, who, if for those of you who don't know, 9 is the alter ego of JJ McCarthy.
Okay.
9, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud going forward. CJ Stroud was legitimately bad, and he might be broken.
Might be.
And like CJ Stroud might have to go be Kyle Shanahan's backup quarterback.
Do that move, like the Carson Wentz
is like
car wash, yeah,
like the guy. To what the heck is going on? Bryce Young had the best year.
He did, man.
And it wasn't great for Bryce Young, by the way. Either.
No, it wasn't. So I'm going to take a second on these ones. As for 9, I think it was kind of an underreported story, but the end of the season wasn't horrific. I mean, it was actually the best he's played was when no one was paying attention anymore and they were eliminated. So I would still bring some kind of veteran in there, but I don't think he's definitely a bust. He stinks. You know, I mean, at least there's a little more hope than we had in week 5 or whatever.
Right. Consistency awful, but he's shown in whether it's a preseason here or a game here or, a couple games at the end of the season, he's shown some level of potentially where it could go well. And even you would be more excited about that than Bryce Young, but the consistency and you can't bank on what he's going to be, and you got to bring in competition, which will make him the best if he becomes good, or you have that contingency plan if you're there.
Yes. So on my Steelers show, and something I'm sure we will address at some point, we got a lot of time to do it. We went over all the 1st round, 5th round option guys because it's Stroud and Young's year. And we both decided, yes, I'm picking up the 5th year option. You're going to get them next year for the 4th year, and then you pick up the 5th year option. But I don't think I'm talking extension with those guys right now at all.
Not. And I thought Stroud would be the mega extension guy right now. And instead, you're just picking up the 5th year option, and you're like, what's this going to be? Right.
So my biggest concern with Young, who's been better than I expected, and I've been really hard on him since I never would draft him 1st overall. And I
definitely not straight up to draft him 1st overall.
I wouldn't have given up the extra stuff either. He really worries me that he is destined to keep his team, Carolina, in quarterback purgatory. I think he's Dalton, Schaub, one of those guys that can't be a top 12 quarterback even in his best year, and isn't bad enough to say he's terrible, we're moving away.
Right.
And then you win 6 games forever, So I would pick Stroud, and boy, this is
still
hard.
have to pick Stroud, but there's some big worry signs there with CJ Stroud and the way he's played and regressed.
I don't mean to spread rumors, but just talking to like the Steelers show I do is with 2 younger dudes now. Unfortunately, my co-host passed away, and we started the show, and they just see the world different, and they're like, so I'm out of my realm here, but they're like, Stroud's doing weird stuff on like Instagram and hanging with models, and like there's talk.
He might have read his own press clippings as a rookie. And
was that you that said he got high on his own supply?
I arrived.
Yes. And that part worries me. Just being bad on the field, I'm like, okay, maybe he's just going through something, or he was hurt, or doesn't trust his line. But if he's not doing all the little things, or thinks he's better than he is, boy, he needs slapped in the face or a look in the mirror. Mm-hmm. He's going to be really hard for me to defend all summer.
Yeah,
he was horrific.
But impossible to move off of if you're but another stinker, and then we're talking very different about DJ Stroud.
So if Houston's smart, I mean, he's going to be their starter next year. Pick up the 5th year option, which doesn't destroy your cap.
No,
and don't talk long-term contract unless he's great next year.
Yep, easy. That was,
right.
Speaking of getting high on your own supply, what's going on with Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers?
I would love to ask you about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that one next. And who was snubbed from MVP finalists next? Today's episode brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. So spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. It's the off season. It also means it's tax season, Matt. It's hard to believe it's tax season already. And tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online to handle everything from W-2s, self-employed forms, and work with you to get every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Okay. In my opinion, Jackson Smith-Njigba snubbed from the MVP finalists lists. The top 5 finalists have been released. And I think, we know it's a 2-horse race who's going to win this thing. It's going to be Drake May or Matthew Stafford, most likely 1 and 2. But there's some other interesting names on the list as well. Trevor Lawrence, Christian McCaffrey, who Adam Schefter put out this, and he said it's believed, so it's not 100%, but Christian McCaffrey is believed to be the first player in NFL history to be a finalist for MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, and Comeback Player of the Year all in the same season.
The comeback one's the toughie, I bet.
Yeah, well, to come back and then be also on the other list is pretty crazy. I think he should be a lock for Comeback Player of the Year, and I think no way should he even be on the list. In fact, I would put Jackson Smith-Njigba on the MVP list and vote for Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I think should probably win Offensive Player of the Year over Christian McCaffrey, because I know Christian McCaffrey had all the volume and it was so important to the 49ers, but he's a running back, and the 49ers were bad running the football. So it's hard for me to say he's the MVP of the league.
I mean, as you know better than anyone, he was phenomenal catching the football and helped the offense quite a bit. But I don't think he belongs on the list either. I mean, JSN to me absolutely does. Lawrence is interesting. I'm going to talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
What about Puka? I mean, I think Puka's got a stronger case than McCaffrey.
Right. I would say Puka. I would say JSN for sure. And Trevor Lawrence, I don't know. He had a nice run at the end of the year. I guess you have to come up with the top 5, right? Because
I guess they invite 5.
So, but he's a pretty distant third at best to Stafford and
I'd rank Allen ahead of him too.
Yeah,
I'd probably put Puka and JSN ahead of him too if I had to rank them. But boy, I mean, the second half of the season in particular for Lawrence, post trade deadline with Myers, was extremely encouraging. And I would tell you Stroud fans out there to keep your fingers crossed. Sometimes this doesn't happen immediately,
Not how I would vote, but just judging by the 5 MVP finalists, I would project that it's going to be Drake May that wins it. Stafford is 2, Josh Allen is 3, McCaffrey 4, and Lawrence 5. Just because the quarterback.
I bet that's how it goes.
And then McCaffrey jumps up ahead of Lawrence.
For Lawrence to be in the top 5 is an incredible accomplishment.
And you go Puka over JSN for Offensive Player of the Year?
I think so. Super, super close. I mean, that's as hard as like Stafford versus May to me.
Right. And then I do like Christian McCaffrey for Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, it's insane with the injuries the 49ers dealt with that McCaffrey, the most likely guy to get hurt, wasn't it. And he was leading the league in touches. That's pretty remarkable right there.
Yeah. I think he's easily the candidate.
Yeah.
Here's one crazy name that, of course, isn't on there. What about Trey McBride? I mean, I was thinking, is there any tight end that just blew up? He was unbelievable this year, and no one even mentions it because the Cardinals didn't win a game for like 3 months.
Record-setting year. It's
right.
Yeah, that's a good one. He for sure belongs.
Yeah,
with JSN and Puka. In that
I agree. He
wasn't very good as a problem.
He's got no chance. But I mean,
By the way, can you go back to the CJ Stroud conversation? A random person on Twitter tweeted out, CJ Stroud has the best defense in the world and has regressed to Charlie Batch. Charlie Batch caught this and responded to it and said, "How'd I catch a stray in this?" Laugh out loud.
I know Charlie pretty well. He's a nice guy.
Hilarious. Charlie Batch is like, I'm just sitting here watching football and people are crushing me all of a sudden.
There's a lot of quarterbacks you could have thrown out there. Charlie's a good dude. Leave him alone.
I had to bring that up with you because
I see him at the facility a lot. He's a good guy. Yeah, he does a bunch of charity work here in Pittsburgh too. And yeah.
Let's see. We have a couple more minutes here. Real quick notes on the Lewis wants to know about the offensive coordinator candidates for Robert Saleh's Tennessee Titans. And Tom Pelissero, he quoted here. Tom Pelissero said that OC options are now Cliff Kingsbury, Arthur Smith, Brian Daboll, Adam Stenavich, and Bobby Slowick. Slowick is the only one with like the Shanahan tree ties of those, which I think is very interesting. And remember, the reports were that one of the things Robert Saleh brought to the table in his head coach interviews was a very detailed offensive coordinator plan, which was different for every team based on their quarterback. So
he brought this up. You brought this up when they hired him. Is Ward really a good fit for a true Shanahan scheme? And I think you could argue that that's not the best way to use it.
And Saleh is telling us that. And so that's very interesting there.
Yeah. None of those names make me do jumping jacks, but
I kind of been down on Arthur Smith and Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
So Daboll probably feels like a really good fit.
I can't say I know enough about Stenavich to be like,
I'd almost say I know the least about him. So like I'd rather have him because I don't love the other candidates.
Yeah. I probably had about enough Arthur Smith. I mean, he's okay, but
Yeah. I think Titans, because he was head coach of the Titans, wasn't he? Arthur,
he was.
Yeah.
No, he was offense. He was offense coordinator, and then went to
him the job. Right.
Yeah.
So, some familiarity, and
I think you know this, but Arthur Smith is a little different than everybody else. His father founded FedEx.
Yes. Grinding
because he loves it, right?
20 hours.
He doesn't need the money, folks. Right. I mean, he had as much money as the Rooneys when he was here. Rarely does the offense coordinator maybe have more wealth than the owners.
Here, quick, the last one I wanted to get in here, and this could be a short answer. Joey Bag of Donuts, who's a frequent listener and tweeter into the show. Shout out Josh earlier. I didn't mention his name. Actually, go back to Josh. Josh says, what is the current status of Brandon Ayuk? Has he gone full Antonio Brown? He's not quite Antonio Brown. I just want to answer this one really quick, but in the press conference.
And we're talking about a crazy level, not catching football level.
Right. Yeah. He's not there yet, but there's something weird that doesn't make sense. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch press conference end of season yesterday were like, we wish we could tell you. It's a confusing situation. And Kyle Shanahan said, I've never seen this in 22 years, a guy willing to give up guaranteed money and just be like, not respond to anybody. So nobody really knows what's going on with Brandon Ayuk. Some weird cryptic stuff on social media, not quite Antonio Brown levels yet, but he's got the starter kit going on. And then Joey Bag of Donuts says, when coaches and GMs are looking for jobs, do they stay away from the dysfunctional franchises and crazy owners, or are they just happy to work anywhere? I think both. I think if you have
at all costs,
I think if you have choice of multiple jobs, then yes, you try to stay away from the dysfunctional franchises. But at the same time, generational money, you get that one job, you don't have to worry about much else. And I would ask anybody out there, if someone offered you 4 times what you already make to work for a weird owner at a business, and you get to hire all your friends and anybody you want to come work with you, you'd probably take that job.
Especially if there's only 32 of them on the planet, and
right.
It's high profile, and it's a great resume builder. And we opened the show talking about Stefanski. You could do that for a few years and then go to an okay organization on your next stop.
So yes and no, but these jobs are you take a head coach job if you only have one offer.
It's an honor.
Yeah. Thanks for all the questions. Apologies to the ones we did not get to. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day, and thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Check out the Everydayer Club link in the show notes, and Matt and I back tomorrow. It's time to make picks and preview Championship Sunday right here on the NFL Six Pack.